Before we get started tonight on an episode of Fast Break here on iSports Radio, I want to introduce y'all to one of our sponsors, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. Congratulations to the Warriors on the 44-0 victory over the Moreno Valley Mercury. The Warriors are now 4-3 and on the season, and 3 games remain in the regular season. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players play in the play and host of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film out to try for professional teams, big-time colleges, or playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on the quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Wherever you're in South California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. You can find on social media at Twitter at SoCal Warriors, on Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, and Facebook, Southern California Warriors. Background International. Are you looking to do a background check on a new hire? Let Kit Freeman take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and is here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help you make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for use of any crimes such as identity theft or other illegal activity. You can find them on social media at bcint.com or Facebook, Background Check International, BCI. Now on to the show. Could a possible NBA champion come out of the division? What does the Nets do with Kyrie Irving with his vaccinated status? Can the Knicks make another push to the playoffs again after that great year last year? Boston, new coach Ime Udoka. Can he take them to the next level? Or other teams look far them ahead of them in the Eastern Conference? The 76ers playing the waiting game with Ben Simmons. We'll talk about what's going on there. Plus, can the Raptors rebound after a very bad year last year? Or is this team in rebuild mode? We'll touch that on much more here on Fast Break, live on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for that is All Sports. And you're welcome to join us. Join us as you shall tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Lots to talk about in this division. Plus, Wnba Finals has started tonight. We'll talk about that as well. But we're going to hop into it. D-Lock, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Our Bucks got a victory today, so I'm extremely happy about that. Marching on, we got a game coming up Thursday, so against the Eagles. So, pretty good thing going for me right now. What about you?
I'm doing okay. I mean, the Titans won, and then last night, Alabama loses to Texas A&M. Alabama A&M, they get beat down by Jackson State, and then Deontay Wilder, got beat down by the Gypsy King. So, to say Alabama just took a big ol' L yesterday. So,
yeah. I think he needs to leave Fury alone. Like, he needs to leave that guy alone, man.
Oh, yeah. I think so as well. But I think our own Marcus Los Great will definitely touch on that Wednesday night, as y'all should check that out at 10 Central Time. But anyways, tonight, I'm glad we get into the nitty gritty in this part. The Atlantic Division, our NBA season preview series. D-Lock, we talked out off air before we go in here. We'll start off with Mr. Kyrie Irving. It seemed like last year we did a lot with Mr. Kyrie Irving. We started off with him, leading out the show many of times. What do you think was going to happen with him this year?
Man, that's one question that I would pay $1 million to find the answer to. Because right now you're seeing a lot of players, going to get the vaccine, understanding how important it is. And he isn't doing that right now. Now, I did read some, I think earlier, I think I sent it to you, as far as Steve Nash and the rest of the team not expecting or preparing for Kyrie to not play at their home games. Like, really? Yeah. Honestly, I think at some point they may trade this guy. I feel like remember this team was brought together, started with Kyrie. He played a huge part in getting that three together, or him and KD. They talked about it a couple of years ago when KD left Golden State. So for me, I don't know, man. Like, it just seems like this guy's already, made up his mind. It just seems like he's not making any move, and they're preparing to play without him. So, one thing that's the best ability, as they say, is availability. And what happens is, and you know this as a coach, that most players don't want to give, in any sport, another opportunity to a player that's on the bench or the second string or third string. Why? Because that player may take advantage of that and, fill a spot that they might get a groove in, that they don't want to mess up that chemistry. So I'm looking at it now to where if you're having a situation where Kyrie is not going to play at home games, you're going to have these different lineups, these different rotations without Kyrie, they start to click. There's a possibility that they may just say, okay, well, we're just going to push him to the side for the moment or possibly trade this guy. I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but it is a toss-up right now, because we can say this now and then 2 or 3 weeks later we hear that Kyrie is going to change his mind. So right now it is definitely up in the air.
Man, I seen that when you sent to me. It's funny that, I read a couple days ago that since he's not vaccinated, that, he couldn't practice, but then somehow or another, quote unquote, they found a loophole that he can practice at the facility. He can magically practice at the facility. Surprise there. But it's tough, D-Log. It's really tough. I hate how these guys are kind of forced to do it. And before I get my further comments, I am fully vaccinated. Put that out there. I just kind of hate that the league's kind of really trying to pigeonhole these guys to do it. As just my point. So, but in the same breath with Kyrie, though, I'm not saying he does things just to do things, but we talked about this off air. Like, compared to Andrew Wiggins, I think he was just doing what he was doing just to do it. I think with Kyrie, though, like I told you, he can give you a 2-hour presentation why he ain't going to be vaccinated. With details. So, I think there's a method to his madness, how he thinks and stuff like that. And I agree with in the chat, and shout out to Terry Rodriguez and Marcus Los, great. you gotta protect your money. We don't know Kyrie's financial status. I mean, we know he's pretty rich, but how much has he saved up and whatnot is a different story. Or will he care about money that much that he can walk away like that? I hope not. But it's just real tough. And you talking about D-Lock, a team that has finals aspirations this year. Well, going against a Milwaukee Bucks potentially in the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe matching up with the Atlanta Hawks in the second round. Maybe meeting up with the New York Knicks in the first round or something like that. You going to need Kyrie in the fold. He can cancel out a Trae Lee Young. He can cancel out a Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose combined game to a degree. You need him kind of take away Drew Holiday away from guarding like a James Harden or maybe Kevin Durant at key situations. If you're the Nets, you need Kyrie in the fold.
Yeah. I mean, right now, like I said, he's one of the guys that, what's the word I'm looking for? He's the one that put this team together or had a huge, way to go, huge, decision. He had a huge, thought process behind putting this KD, James Harden, and Kyrie, all these other guys together. So for me, I think he's a must-have as well. I mean, we've seen what happened last year with just James Harden and James Harden and KD. Even though it was a wobble, James Harden. See what happened in the playoffs. Again, I said this before. I think this is one of the best rosters, top to bottom. But what do they do when, if Kyrie is not there, that can cause a lot more issues than they need.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just this is it's so in limbo right now. You don't know what's gonna happen. That's the that's the scary part. You don't know what is gonna happen. So for me, I just like I said, I wish I could know exactly what's gonna happen. But this guy, one day is one thing and the next day is something else. But like I said, I can see more I can believe more so of the fact that they can possibly trade this guy. It'll be a hard thing to do, but I think it'll also hurt him and KD's friendship if that was to possibly happen. But I wouldn't count out the fact they would trade him.
Well, before we get to our previews and stuff, you don't think KD, if he got whispers that they might trade Kyrie, you don't think he might put a stop to that? Because they kind of came together on this.
Yeah.
I probably thinking they both want to see it through before they let it blow up. But you don't think KD will put a stop to it? Go to Sean Marks and say, "Hey, we're not doing that."
I think he'll have a huge what's the word I'm looking for? I think he'll say something about it. I think he will say, well, hey, I don't want this. I'm not for this. But again, he's making it. Kyrie is making it hard for people to bat for him. In different, when you disappear sometimes and you're saying, well, I'm just not going to show up, for this or for that, that. And then now you have this situation where clearly, like you said, the fact that the NBA has said, okay, well, you guys somewhat have to be vaccinated. I agree with you. I feel like that is something that needs to be. I feel like that's bothersome as well. So now it sounds like, okay, you have people that have their different beliefs on both ends. So now, with that being said, Kevin Durant may feel some type of way about that. So now it's okay, well, with the organization, because clearly, bro, like, if this man can't play, like, how do you get your chemistry correct with this guy? How can you make this move towards the playoffs? So it's two sides of that story that, okay, hey, getting vaccinated, you're part of the team. This is what we want you to do. And then you also, well, I don't want them to force. Like, you heard the whole conversation Andrew Wiggins was having, and how he felt about it. So now, do the Nets already preparing to not play without Kyrie? Like, that's going to shake up a lot of different things. So I think that Kevin Durant is going to, say, hey, I feel like this. But I don't know how long I don't know how long he stays on the side of keeping Kyrie. That's what I believe, because this is not going to go away throughout the season. If this continues to go the way it goes, again, there are going to be games where he's not, home games where he's not there. So it's going to be like, damn, like, this dude is not playing. So, press conferences. Well, how do you feel about Kyrie not playing this game? Or how do you feel about Kyrie not doing this or doing that? Like, now, Kyrie's going to have his thought process behind Kevin Durant. Well, don't say this or don't answer. Like, there's a lot of stuff that can be unraveled. So, I mean, I feel like Kevin Durant's going to want him to stay on course. But I think honestly that we're going to talk about this months and months down the road during the season.
And don't worry, we probably will. Hell, we should make it like a Kyrie song this, before we talk about him for the show later on this year. Like you said, it's not going to stop. And, I hope the league gets something worked out with the New York City officials or government officials about that. I think, the ownership probably has a pretty good sway. So, maybe he could do something about that. I don't know. Who knows? But like you said, we're still going to hear about this. And I think we're going to hear from Kyrie about this as well. That's the other part as well. But ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for tuning into the chat. If y'all can, I see Mr. Rodriguez already did his predictions. But if y'all got any predictions for this division, from 5 to 1, 5 being the worst, 1 being the top team, give us y'all's ranking how y'all think this division is going to finish out. Go into the chat real quick before we get started. Mark is saying, the key is the other role players for the Nets. I do agree. Joe Harris, Blake Griffin, Aldridge, Millsap, even though I think he cooked. Cam Thomas, the rookie from LSU. Bruce Brown. So, and like you mentioned, D-Lock, the roster is loaded. DeAndre Wnba, very deep roster. A lot of guys I just named off right there. So, even Kyrie out, I think hopefully those other guys will step up. Nicholas Claxton. But we'll dive more on the roster here in a little bit. Do you want to start off with your predictions first?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know we kind of got off we didn't get off, but we went on to the Kyrie thing because that's going to play a huge part. But to be honest, that's not going to change where I have Brooklyn. So I got Toronto at the bottom. The fact of losing Kyle Lowry, Siakam, it's not necessarily for sure getting traded, but there's some possibilities of him leaving, or people say that or thinking about it. It's kind of like up in the air. So I'm not too. I feel like we talked about it earlier, or like you said earlier. They could possibly be rebuilding. Now, they still have Van Fleet. They did get Goran Dragic. OG Anunoby. The biggest draft surprise for me was getting Scotty Barnes. Still. My question is, what the hell are they going to do with Chris Boucher? Are they going to actually just let him play? Or are they still going to kind of bring him in from time to time not giving his full minutes. And also getting Precious over there. So I think that this team is I think that Van Fleet is gonna lead the way, but I don't see them being that much of a competition in this division because, this division is somewhere pretty deep. And it just seems like, losing a leader like a Kyle Lowry definitely is going to hurt. Now, this is where it gets kind of tough.
Yep.
Yeah, I really had to sit and think about it for a while. So, for me, at 4, I got the New York Knicks. Wnba Walker is a hell of a player, but it's just not consistent enough for me right now. For me to literally say, okay, this guy's going to be, he's going to make a big difference. They got Derrick Rose, who was a 6 Man of the Year candidate. Emmanuel Quigley, you drafted him. What the hell, are you going to do with him? Alec Burke clearly is a player that can come in. You went and signed Fournier. RJ Barrett is who he is, and then you got one of the most improved players in Julius Randle. I like this roster, but like I said, again, this is a very, very tough division. It's interesting to see what they do with Wnba Walker. Evan Fournier, to be honest, if they're getting that Fournier that was in Orlando, then that was a bad signing. Hell, if you get the one that was in Boston, in my opinion, I don't know if he's going to be that guy that they're looking for on a consistent. But I definitely don't see them, outbeating the Sixers or the Nets or the Celtics. But they have a solid roster. They are up and coming. I still feel like they're missing that one star player, unless RJ Barrett just takes over. But there's a lot of pieces over there. I like Tom Thibodeau, to be honest. He's a hell of a coach to me. So, but like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see how that play out. But I want to see how this Wnba Walker and Derrick Rose combination goes. 3, I got Boston.
Okay.
Talk about Wnba Walker. I don't even think that was a major loss to me, to be honest. It didn't like he was playing incredibly great for me to say, okay, well, hell, they're going to take a major drop down. I'm expecting to see Jason Tatum make this huge move. I think Jaylen Brown will be more of a beneficial of Wnba Walker leaving. Al Horford, getting him in Enes Kanter was just like a what are you doing thing to me. But we knew that they needed a big man big time. We talked about that. I really like Robert Williams. So I hope that he gets to play, an extended amount of minutes. They went and got Huncho Hernandez too, right? I believe they did.
Which player?
Huncho.
Oh,
from Minnesota, yeah.
Yes. Let me try to get the last name right, because I was like...
Hernan Gomez.
Yep.
Hernandez. Hernan Gomez.
Yep.
Yeah, my bad. That's on me. So picking him up, clearly one thing we talked about is they need more bigs, and that's what they went and did. They got some bigs going to get, Al Horford, Enes Kanter, Hernan Gomez. So, but we were looking forward and would have been fine. But got money hungry and he lost more than what he got with them. So I like this team, I think, but again, like I told you, my problem with them is one day or a couple of days is Marcus Smart, a couple of days is Jaylen Brown, a couple of days is Jason Tatum. There's not one guy that literally takes over, and I'm hoping that's what Jason Tatum does this year.
Yep.
Second, I got Philly. Now, it could have went multiple ways, but the reason why I got them here is because I feel like not having Ben, I'm expecting Ben Simmons to not be there, but I'm thinking that they're going to get a huge piece in return. So I don't know who specifically, but I just feel like they're going to get somebody in return that's going to make a difference for them. Tyrese Maxey is still a hell of a player. I like him. Seth Curry is like he only wanted to show up during the playoffs. Or, actually played during the playoffs. He didn't want to do anything during the season like that. And Danny Green is Danny Green. Now, Tobias paid all that money and plays. He could have played a lot better during the postseason. I don't think he really played that much during the postseason, if you ask me. We already know the fact that they got Joel Embiid. They're going to be in the hunt regardless. Going to get Andre Drummond. I'm still scratching my head on that because I'm trying to figure out what the hell were they thinking. But I mean, I guess you're giving Embiid his little break that he have. Could they go and run Drummond and Embiid on the court at the same time?
Oh, no.
At the same time, I doubt that. Yeah, I don't see it happening. That just seems like trouble. So, I think Matisse Thybulle is going to play a lot more this year as well. But I put them at this spot because I like the roster they have Joel Embiid, and I'm just trying to see what they're going to do with Ben Simmons, what they're going to get in return. Once I can figure that out, then I don't really see Boston being too much too much better than them at this moment. And of course, they got Court Mines. And obviously, at number one, I talked about it. Hell, I have messaged you about this roster. The Brooklyn Nets. You're getting LaMarcus Aldridge back. You went and got Paul Millsap, who is not the Paul Millsap, of old, but you kind of want him to be a little bit. You want him. I think he can give you a little something when he gets off the bench. You got Blake Griffin. You got Bruce Brown, who's a hell of a player. You asked me. We've seen the video of them practicing who was 95, and that's Bembry. Bembry can get hot from time to time. They got the steal in the draft with Cam Thomas. So this whole Kyrie thing, it's one thing that's up in limbo, but you got a perfect player in Cam Thomas to help fill that void just a little bit. Clearly having Joe Harris as one of the best three-pointers in the game on your team, and you got Patty Mills. This team is loaded, man. Like, I really see them being in the NBA Finals this year. There's no reason why they should not be there. Like, I like what the Bucks did. Bring a lot of their guys back. I think they went and traded for Grayson Allen, got a couple things. But they did lose P.J. Tucker. But this team is too loaded, man. Like, there's no reason why that the Nets should not be in the Finals. So I definitely got them at number 1. Number 2, Philly. Number 3, Boston. The Knicks at 4. And the Raptors rebuilding at 5.
Ooh. Let me go to the chat and see what everybody else's predictions are before I get to mine. We got Marcus. His predictions are Nets number 1. Number 2, the Sixers, if they keep Ben Simmons. Number 3, the Knicks. 4, the Celtics. 5, the Raptors. And then for Tyrion, 1, the Nets. I don't know. Let me see your reaction on number 2 for him. The Celtics at number 2. Number 3, the Knicks. 4, the Sixers.
Celtics.
The Celtics at number 2. And 5, the Raptors. So, very different opinions in the chat tonight. Let me go and start for mine. I got the Raptors number 5. I think all of us are kind of in agreement that they're the low man in the totem pole. I got a starting lineup of Dragic, Van Fleet, Wnba, Siakam, and Boucher at center. So, my thought process is like you brought up with Boucher. If you're going to try to be in playoff contention or maybe be a surprise team, play the man at least about 30 minutes, see what he does. When he plays, he give you good stats and all that, give you good time. I wish he kind of, bulk up a little bit. My only problem with this Toronto team, really no size. I mean, a lot of athleticism, but really no size, no meat. And you kind of look like you brought up like an Andre Drummond going to the 76ers. And Andre Drummond signed for like for $2 million with the Sixers could have been a better fit, with the Toronto Raptors. With the Brooklyn Nets, in my eyes. So, with this lineup here, I don't know if if this team is not in playoff contention come the trade deadline, they get rid of Dragic and either buy him out or trade him to a contending team. But I think the main goal for this team is to get some growth out of Scotty Barnes. And if you think he can be the next great thing for y'all, he's kind of similar in positions as Siakam. You may offload Siakam. But it depends how Siakam plays, if he gets back to that all-star level and whatnot, and, can carry this team. Like I myself kind of imagined that he could. But also you got like Malachi Flynn in the fold. See what you get out of him as well in that guard spot. And that's really about it for the Raptors. This is my text here. This is like 2 from 4 is tough. Now some of y'all probably hear this and not that tough. Well, it depends how things go. Now this could change. I got Philly at number 4. Only reason I put Philly at number 4, if Simmons doesn't get traded here before the season starts, and he's not with the team at all, then it's going to be a little bit of struggle for this team. I'm not saying it could be a struggle, but it's going to be a little tough. Sure, you got Tyrese Maxey, Shake Milton in the fold, and what you need more growth and production out of them and show more confidence in them as players to help your team in the future. But if Simmons ain't there, to at least half-ass it and collect a check, then this team's going to be in the world of hurt until they get that trade go through to whoever. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think is Philly asking too much in return for Ben Simmons? Because Portland rejected a trade for Ben Simmons, but Philly's wanting like 3 first-round picks, 3 future swaps in that trade. Do you think that's too much for Simmons?
Say that again. They're asking for what?
With the rejected trade for Portland, the report came out. Philly wants 3 future first round picks and the chance to swap 3 future swaps as well for Simmons and whoever the player is going to be involved in the trade. Do you think they're asking too much for Simmons for that?
I mean, it depends on who the player is. Now, if you throw Dame up in there, then hell yeah, you ask for way too much. But it depends on who the player is they're asking for. But I definitely, because the thing about it, like the NBA draft picks are not the same as NFL draft picks, right? Like, you are looking at it's a hit or miss for a lot of these first round picks. So I would say 3 first round picks is a lot, but I mean I feel like the biggest thing for me, I feel like what Ben Simmons did in the postseason is like overshadowing his what he's done so far in his career. Like dudes are all pro, or he's been to the All-Star game a couple of times. He's been on an all defensive team, so he's not like a scrub, So, but it's like because of what he did in the playoffs. Like, Ben Simmons is what, like 23, 24?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a nice player that you could really build around. But let's be clear, he's not a point guard. Like, that's not his. I don't think that's his role. I think he's more of a power or maybe a point forward or maybe just a small forward, and that's how I think he need to be played. So, but three is a lot, but it really depends on what player they ask for in return. For me,
I think that's the main thing. Like, who do you get in return to ask for all those picks? Yeah, I think Daryl Morey has to look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm not going to get all this for this guy. I think teams are willing to play ball to trade for Ben Simmons, but if you ask for all this stuff and ask to swap and all that stuff, put these conditions and all that stuff in the trades and stuff, a lot of teams ain't going to go for that. I think NBA teams would done it. I think this trade would have been done. I'm not saying a long time ago, but Daryl Moore is playing hard right now. And I know he's trying to get value back for Ben Simmons. I know he's trying to get back for a former number one overall pick. I get that. But Ben Simmons has been in the league for a few years. We kind of know who he is now. He's a very good player, but he's not going to carry you to the promised land. And you trying to ask for promised land compensation back. Ooh, I didn't write that down. But anyways, you're not going to get that compensation back. We talked about in the playoffs. The performance in the whole playoffs, including that Hawks game, when people rake them over the coals, kind of show where he's at. As his mindset as a player. So, will he show up? I don't know. If I'm Rich Paul, I'll try to convince him to come back to recoup some of your money. And then just go back from there. And, and plus, and another thing, to stay in shape as well. Stay in game shape, all that stuff. So, hopefully, it gets resolved soon. It's kind of crazy that this all stems about, Ben Simmons getting his feelings hurt. And we're here. But I got Philly in number 4. Number 3, I got Boston. I look at them. They got a lineup as Dennis Schroeder, Josh Richardson, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. And I went with Robert Williams as center. I don't know.
I like him.
I like him a lot. He really showed some growth this past year. I thought about putting Al Horford in that starting lineup, but I'm thinking they may kind of limit his minutes throughout the year and don't play him as much. Kanter was a good signing to bring back into the fold. Why did they let him go in the first place? I really can't say. But you got Marcus Smart as your sixth man. Kanter, Horford. And after that, that's when that depth kind of comes into question a little bit. But I think the main thing for the Celtics is I'm Udoka's first year as a coach. Can he carry this team to the next level? It'd be real to see what he does with this roster. Brad Stevens going to the front office was kind of, when we talked about it when that happened, it's kind of, strange too. Because I kind of looking at it now, I don't see Brad Stevens like a front office guy. Maybe he'll surprise us. But I didn't vision him when he stepped down to go to the front office and it was due time for Danny Ainge to go, but I envision Brad Stevens going to that role. I figure he would resign, hang out somewhere for a year, and then some college job pops up, and go take a job there. But for Boston, I think it goes to coaching to get Schroeder in the fold. I think he's gonna play with some purpose this year. After everybody's been kind of clowning him after being in the Lakers, and especially turning down the money, I think he got some purpose to show this upcoming season. And like some guys say in the chat, Jason Tatum got to be strong in the fourth quarter. What Marcus said. If he can't handle the keys in the kingdom, then this Boston team ain't gonna go far. They'll make the playoffs, but it's gonna be pretty rough for them. So I got Boston number 3. Number 2, I got the New York Knicks. The reason I got the Knicks number 2, D-Lock, it kind of hinges the growth on a player that you brought up. RJ Barrett. If he can take that leap and be one of the next great ring players in the league, it'll go a long way for the Knicks for their season. And in crunch time situations, you can have a Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle as your small 5. And then maybe have Fournier out there. Or maybe if Microwave Quickly is on like a hot streak, you have him out there to space out the floor. The potential you could do with this Knicks team is real interesting. But, for a starting lineup for them for the season, I got Kemba at the point guard, Barrett at the 2, Fournier at the 3, Randall at the 4, and Noel at the 5 until Mitchell Robinson gets back healthy. I didn't mind the Fournier signing. I know we talked about this in our free agency review. I didn't mind the signing. I just hate the money they gave him. It's like, that's a lot of money for.
That's a lot of damn money. Yeah.
That's a lot of money for a guy that didn't really elevate his team at his previous stop. And then gets traded to Boston. Was kind of so there. And then y'all turn around and give him all this money. Kind of baffling about that. You brought back Alec Burks. You signed him to a pretty decent deal. Kind of a little overpaid, but, it is what it is. But I think for them and for their depth, Obi Toppin, he's got to show some growth this year. He can't have Taj Gibson take his minutes. He got to show that he can, besides being a runner and jumper and dunker, he can play a little bit of defense. I think he can show that. They'll go a long way for him, for his career, and not be stunted. And not depend on, about mid-30 Taj Gibson to play tough for y'all down the stretch. You can't have that again this year. But I got the Knicks at number 2. Number 1, the Brooklyn Nets. Now, last week, I said I got the Nets and Bucks penciled in as facing off each other in the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll just play out the scenario, in this starting lineup with Kyrie, Harden, Joe Harris, Durant, and Blake Griffin at center. Even though I kind of, me personally, if I was Coach D-Lock, I'll put Nicholas Claxton at center. I think it'll kind of flush out the starting lineup better in terms like rebounding, defense, and stuff like that. But I think they go with Blake Griffin there. But let's go with this. If Kyrie, come playoff time, is in the fold with the team, vaccinated, and they're playing against Milwaukee Bucks, give me the Nets in 7. But if Kyrie's not in the fold, then you gotta give me the Bucks in 7. It really hinges on Kyrie. Now, granted, if you had Durant and Harden as your main two primary players, that should be enough to win a championship. And like you mentioned about this roster, with Bruce Brown, Cam Thomas, Claxton, and others, it should be enough to carry you to the championship. But like I mentioned before, and I said this earlier, having Kyrie in the fold kind of cancels out these other point guards in this conference. His scoring and playmaking ability could get Trae Young in foul trouble. Could give Kemba Walker and his knees some work. Along with Derrick Rose. Could take away Drew Holiday out the way so you can let Harden and Durant eat. Now, granted, you're looking over side Milwaukee, you got Giannis and Chris Middleton in the fold as well. They could match up with them like that on defense and stuff. Not having PJ Tucker there, possibly not guarding a Durant, will hurt as well. Because there's other guys that Milwaukee signed, like a Rodney Hood, Grayson Allen, kept with that. Who knows? But I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. Give me the Milwaukee Bucks over the Brooklyn Nets in next summer's Eastern Conference Finals in 7. I go on Bucks over Nets. Because, and my thought process in this, D-Lock, come down low. I know I know you like this Brooklyn Nets roster, but down low, can they stop Giannis just enough to put themselves over the hump?
Yeah, that's gonna be a big question. And that's why I'm thinking maybe they got a couple bigger players, but I mean, Giannis is just so dominant. You're gonna need a Kyrie to put up points with James Harden and KD.
That's my only reason I go on with this. Blake Griffin ain't known for his low post defense. LaMarcus Aldridge, same boat. And then, like I said, Paul Millsap. I like Paul Millsap, but I think he cooked. I'm sorry. I think he cooked. And then, like I said, my Nicholas Claxton, I think that'd be your better play if I was coach. But the way they're constructed right now, I think those veteran guys will get the more playing time. But come down to it, Giannis taking over, scoring at key points in the game. If I can imagine in my head. And if I predict now, I got the Bucks 4-3 winning Eastern Conference Finals and going back to the finals again. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I got. That's what I got.
That's a tough one right there, but it can happen though. I mean, to repeat is what they want to do. So I kind of can see it. The Nets gonna give them some big problems though. But I'll tell you one thing that's standing in the way is this Kyrie, stuff going on.
And that's the main issue. And that's the main issue. If he can't play home games and stuff like that, and his history is shoddy as well, what we doing? I mean, what we doing here? They got to figure something out, and hopefully it is soon, because it'd be a real damn shame that we don't see this team in full strength and playing to their playing capabilities, because this guy got his reasons, just to put it like that.
Yeah, I mean, but he's such a big piece. So, but it's gonna be interesting, man. Like when I really seen the fact that he can't play any home games, bro. Like I'm like, I mean, there's nothing that I can say, but damn, like this was it's coming down to. This dude literally gonna have to sit out all their own home game. Like, wow.
Yep. It's going to be something else. But like I said, we'll touch on Kyrie and Brooklyn for the rest, in the course of the season. So we'll talk about more of that in the coming weeks. But D-Lock, the Wnba Finals tipped off today on ABC. I caught that. I was flipping between that and Titan game. And my thoughts, I'll let you get in real quick. My thoughts in this game, especially in that second half. For Phoenix, they try and look for calls and stuff like that. And when you look for calls and stuff like that in any type of sport, especially in basketball, in these days now, you can take you off your focus of your game. And we especially saw that in tonight's game, or this afternoon's game against the Sky. Because right off the bat, Chicago got a steal off from Phoenix, ran a fast break, got an easy layup. And after that, it's just like great pick and roll offense, great scoring from Cooper. She was a very big rebound and scoring. Dolson off the bench, having her open shots at 3, having 14 off the bench. Candace Parker, 16 and 8. So they played tough. They didn't bench Jamone. And I think for game 2, D-Lock, I think Phoenix guys, come out, play their game, cut out the crying and stuff like that, trying to look for calls, and maybe they can win this series. What are your thoughts, real quick?
Yeah, I agree. The fact that they got so much with Brittany Griner, Taurasi, and Skylar Diggins-Smith, my first thought process when I seen this matchup is, as much as I like Candace Parker as one of the greatest, I just felt like they had too many weapons. Mercury did. And it just seems like from the beginning, just like they cannot get on could not put it together. So, for me, Brittany Griner, usually getting 6 boards. For somebody like her, I would think that's not enough.
Oh, no.
And I would think that I'm thinking more than 6 boards, a whole game is what the expectation is. So, I expect them to come out a little bit more focused in the next game. Taurasi, gave her 17 points, which could have been still a little more, but I just feel like like you said in the beginning, he's like they got kind of hit in the mouth, and then everything just went south for him. So I expect kind of like that first game. And this is the thing about this is one thing I love about football too. Football, you don't have that game where where the NBA or WNBA or baseball or hell even hockey where you can lose a game and come back and bounce back another game in the playoffs. It doesn't work like that in football. Like, you get hit in the mouth one time, that's it. Like, you get one chance. But, to their benefit, it is game one for the Mercury. So, they got to definitely come back ready to play. They just have to be with it. Cooper was on fire tonight. Clear Cooper definitely was on fire. That whole group was just hitting everything. So, but I expect to have a better showing from the Mercury in game two.
Yeah, I think better showing from Mercury too. And I don't know with recently, with Dentarius getting all this, praise and stuff like that. People anointing her the GOAT and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not saying that's letting her get to her head and stuff like that, but maybe her focus is a little off. Everybody praising her, and she got like 5 fouls today. And I wonder, she's expecting these calls and stuff like that because she been in the league so long. And I wonder that's like taking off focus to be, to play her game like she's supposed to. I don't want to say that. I don't want to cast that upon her. But, that's like watching the game, the body language that she had and stuff like that, was not good. And you kind of expect better for the face of the franchise in a sense. But before we close here, I think for the Sky, kind of do more of the same thing you did today. Get the pick and roll, roll, your bigs down low, try and get scoring that way. Get your shooters open like you did today. They got great rotation on passing the ball. Vandersloot played very, very well as well. Played very well. 12 points, 11 assists. No turnovers for her. So if you cut out that stuff, I think it'll go a long way for them. I'll let you close. What would you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to see what the Mercury are going to do. I want to see Brittany Griner take over as well. I feel like they have the players to do it. It's just, understand that it's not going to be given to you. So you're going to have to fight for this dub. You're going to have to fight for this next win in this series. So it's, like I said, it's going to be an interesting series. I think it goes all the way down to the wire. I ain't gonna lie, right now I do have the Mercury winning, but we got to see how they play game two.
So I got Chicago winning. You got Mercury win. So we'll see how game two goes here in a couple days. But before we go, D-Lock, one more prediction. Does Ben Simmons get traded before the season starts?
No, I don't see that. Unless they chop down and ask for better trade value, I think he's gonna start. They're gonna start the season with him not playing, and he's gonna be in Philly. I don't think he's gonna report, but I think he's gonna be a 76er to begin the season.
All righty then. Y'all heard the man. Ben Simmons may be in uniform for the Sixers by the coming tip of the season. But thank you for joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We had a great show tonight. Thank y'all for the chat, for tuning in and putting y'all thoughts in as well. D-Lock, how can people find you on social media?
You guys can definitely find me at Black-813. Usually when I do a lot of my tweets, I kind of would just focus in on the game today. So I ain't tweet too much, even though we did beat the brakes off of Miami. That's where you definitely find me, Black-813, and also Instagram, Black-813. Let them know where they can check you out, man, and also the podcast.
You can find me on Twitter at Spawn4288. That is Spawn4288. Also, please do check out our Twitter page, our Fast Break at IESR. That is Fast Break IESR. And catch up our tweets about basketball in general. So please do follow us on there. Also, please do check out IESportsRadio.com. You can catch the playback on all our NBA season preview series on its website or whatever podcasting platform that you use. Also, I do a podcast on the side called The Crooks Process. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. You see the CP logo and the profile pic. That is The Crooks Process. Please do check me out. I dropped an episode about 10 days ago, so please do give it a listen. We'll be back next week discussing the Pacific Division. And a lot of strong horses in that race there. So tune live with us next week, and we'll see y'all then. But take care, everybody.
Peace.